Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video and the start of something a little bit different here on my second channel. For those of you that have been linked from my main channel, this is basically my sim racing channel where I do iRacing and various other F1 league racing. But today we are going to be jumping in with our first guide for F1 23. Now starting from tomorrow, I'm going to be trying to provide you guys with either daily or every other day track guides for all 26 of the circuits on the F1 23 game. But before we jump into that, I need to dive in with my wheel settings. So of course, to access your settings inside F1 23, if you're on the main menu, you head all the way down into options, you then click on settings, head down to controls, vibration and force feedback, and then as you head into here, you can see I've got a keyboard set up because that's obviously what else I'm using, and then I've got an option that I've dubbed V1 inside the game. If you click on that and then click on edit, you can currently see all of my various, obviously, wheel binds. You know, these are just what button does what inside the game. I haven't really touched them since the launch of F1 23 just yet. You know, I always just kind of stick with the buttons the game gives you. I might change it around at some point down the line, and I'm sure, yeah, I will give you guys an update if I do that. But that's not really the important bit from this video today. Of course, we are more interested in my actual force feedback settings. Now, of course, if you're on Thrustmaster or Logitech, you will obviously have different software settings outside of F1 23. These are just the settings I use inside the game. There'll be timestamps linked down below. I'll also jump in to my actual Fanatec base settings as well, because now I'm recording on PC, I can actually showcase those properly. So in terms then of the calibration settings, no changes there. Steering rate, I've obviously got 100%. Of course, that just means that whenever I turn, it matches up in the game there. No dead zones or linearities for myself personally. I like to have quite a raw and natural experience. So you'll know, obviously, if you've been around the channel for a while, when I was having issues with my pedals on F1 22, I was having to run a slightly dead zone. Of course, basically, what you do is if you've got a, say, 5% dead zone, the first 5% of your throttle input won't be registered inside the game. So, of course, you know, if you're having a few issues with that, or you find yourself leaning on your throttle, maybe it's worth doing. But, of course, then that also means the last 95% of your throttle, which still sounds like a lot, has 100% of the movement. So it can be useful if you want to be really precise with things. But, honestly, it's not something I mess around with too much, like I said, unless I've actually got a hardware issue. Into the more important stuff, though, my vibration and force feedback. So you can see inside F1 23, I'm still making a few tweaks and changes here and there inside the game. But honestly, for me, I've always really liked quite high force feedback in my Formula 1 cars. You know, I think F1's force feedback is pretty decent nowadays. You know, it's pretty well refined for the most part, but still I like to get as much information as I possibly can. Of course, quickly, because I know I'm going to get asked questions about that as well, I'm running a Fanatec CSL DDGT, it's a lot of letters, and a Fanatec Formula V2 rim with the CSL Elite pedals. Of course, if you are wondering, you know, you want to get your first wheel or you want to get an upgrade, something like that, join my Discord server. I have got a link down in the description below. There is wheel ranges from £100 all the way up to £2,000, Xbox, PlayStation and PC. Of course, I've partnered up with Fanatec and Moza. So of course, you know, if you join my Discord, shop through those links. Obviously, it gives you guys a handy little, you know, workaround, you know, where to start then. And also you help support the channel as well. You know, a lot of you are already using my Fanatec and Moza links. I cannot thank you guys enough. But yeah, definitely join my Discord server. You know, if you're looking for your first wheel or you're looking for an upgrade, like I said, we've got budgets from £100 up to £2,000. Pretty much should cover everyone. So yeah, I would highly recommend getting yourself in there. We're up to almost 700 members now as well. So yeah, I cannot thank you guys enough. But yeah, in terms of vibration and force feedback, I've got them stuck on the standard 100 inside F1 23. Any more than that, and you tend to find you start actually losing information again, just because, of course, you know, it's trying to send so much data and just raw force through your wheel that you kind of leave and get less of the precision from the game. Now, on-track effects, of course, this affects things like bumps on the circuit and obviously curbs as well. I've set that to 60. Again, I like to know, obviously, what the car's doing underneath me, but I don't want to know too much, of course, because, you know, if you're going over a bump and it's completely chucking the wheel up in the air, it's not really ideal. Rumble strip effects, again, this is curbing and obviously you know, right towards the track edge. I've set that down to 30, the same with the off-track effects as well. So that's obviously grass, gravel, that kind of thing. Personally, you know, unless you're in cockpit cam potentially, you should know where your wheels are at all times on a Formula 1 car, of course, for those of you especially that are running T-cam. So those kind of things I don't really feel are too important, and to be honest, the curbs on F123 in a lot of places can be quite aggressive, so you don't really want to, you know, be trying to get on the throttle as your wheel is shaking around too much underneath you. A lot of you might find you actually want to run it a little bit less than that, but I like quite having a realistic experience in that regard as well. Wheel damper I've got set to 0. This is just, of course, the actual force from the wheels on your game. Of course, anything higher than 0, of course, then means you're losing force feedback. So that's why I've got that round there. Maximum wheel rotation, 360, means I can go 180 that way, all the way back round, and 180 the other way. I know a lot of people like to run slightly less than that, but yeah, 360 is still where I'm happy. And then maximum rotation for supercars, I've left it at 900 because I haven't touched them inside F123, and to be honest, I'm not convinced I ever will. Now onto my actual Fanatec settings then. You can see you've got some lovely little pictures on the side there, of course, of all the hardware that I'm running. You can see, obviously, if I turn the wheel slightly, it actually turns in the software as well, which is very, very cool. 360 degrees, again, of course, matches up with the in-game force feedback. Again, 100% force feedback strength, and I've got the force feedback scaling set to peak. The natural damper I've got set to 50, so it just obviously smooths out things a little bit, of course. I've just seem to find I run 50 on a lot of games. It makes it feel quite consistent. You know, if I jump from iRacing to Gran Turismo, obviously ACC or F123 as well. And then my natural friction I've got set to 0. The same with the natural inertia. Didn't really feel like they added anything to my driving experience, and to be honest, again, kind of diluted the force feedback experience. The FFB interpolation filter, that of course I'm pretty certain is how often it's updating the information as well. I've pretty much left that at standard. 11 seemed to work quite nicely, so I haven't altered that. And then 100 on my force effect intensity as well there. So of course, you know, when I'm hitting a curb, we do get a fairly sensible amount of force as well. And you can see I desperately need to update my Fanatec driver settings as well there. Tuning menu, I think obviously we won't get anything else. So you can see, yeah, all my other settings in there as well. So yeah, nothing all too crazy. 40% brake force on my pedals for those of you that are interested. Of course, if you want to just pause the video quickly and grab a screenshot of that if you're running similar hardware, then by all means go for it. Let's jump in though, last but not least, with my camera settings. So to access your camera settings then inside F123, I find the easiest way of doing it is just by jumping in to a time trial session. Then obviously click the pause menu, head over to settings, and then head into camera customization. Now, to be honest, I'm very, very boring when people ask me about my camera settings. I don't really change it for any car or any track specifically or anything like that. You can see car-specific settings I've got disabled. Camera settings I've got on global. I don't really think... yeah, there you go. So you can see I can change it from car to car. TV pod. Nothing else has been changed. Camera shake, camera movement are both set on 20. I might lower those in the near future. And then you can see the look to apex limit is set to 4. Halo, of course, that is obviously both those settings are when you're in cockpit camera only. So they obviously don't make any difference to me. I am planning on doing a VR career mode as well on my main channel, so I might do like a VR specific camera settings in the future. But I know whenever I do these wheel guides that I often get asked about my camera settings. I think a lot of people are so desperate to change them. They seem to believe, of course, you know, there's these hidden secrets, and I know obviously you can do things with the field and view and things like that. Yeah, I don't really bother. I don't really tend to on many games, to be completely honest. So that's my camera settings. And there we go then. Those are my wheel and camera settings for F123. Like I said, probably most useful for other Fanatec users, but hopefully, you know, they have helped you out, you know, from Thrustmaster, Logitech, Moza, any of that kind of thing as well, of course. As I mentioned, make sure join my Discord server if you want any help with trying to obviously purchase your own wheel. Of course, there'll be links down in the description to that. But thank you all so much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure you leave a like, get yourself subscribed. Like I said, we're going to be trying to do almost daily F123 hot lap and track guides as well. I'm going to start off with beginner ones, obviously, just so, you know, if you're learning the game still, you're trying to get up to speed, then hopefully it can help as many of you as possible. But yeah, like I said, get yourself subscribed, trying to hit 10k here on the second channel at the moment. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll be back very, very soon then with a Bahrain Grand Prix track guide. I think you guys are going to really enjoy it.